Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Busa Riding God King podcast. I'm Chris, aka Dante, and I'm joined with Adam Mataway for
Hello.
episode 7 of the podcast. Now, we have been going over the steps leading up to becoming a Busa Riding God King, and today we feature one of my favorite steps.
Actually,
Step
this
11.
isn't episode 7. This is episode 8.
Oh shit! Whoa! I fucked up the last one. Then I was like, I mean, really didn't. I was like, I think this is episode 6. Maybe not. Fuck it. I don't care. And I
I'll
just
go
went
in
off.
there. I'll go in there and just like voice over myself.
Right after the
saying,
6 voice. No. Right. Let me say 6, and then just pop in with a voiceover and go, "Wee! It's episode 7." All right. Anyway,
Exactly.
so we're here with my boy, Step 11. Don't be a bitch. All right. Now, there are a couple different aspects of this step that are important because, a lot of you listening might be like, what does don't be a bitch mean? What does being a bitch entail? And how do I not be that? Right?
Well, stop being a bitch.
Exactly, Adam. So now, one of the key points to this step, and the most important one, is you need to remove the word can't from your vocabulary. Okay? So the reason for this is you are the one that is going to limit yourself from something, not other people. It's going to be you. Other people might tell you, oh, you should quit playing the guitar because you're not going to be a rock star. You can't make it, or whatever bullshit, right? But unless you subscribe to that belief and then say, you're right, I can't be a rock star, you can just prove them wrong and become a rock star. All right. So the word can't needs to be removed from your vocabulary. And Adam, I believe, has some words on this.
Well, there's been quite a few times in my life that Chris has caught me saying the word can't, and immediately you realize as long as you don't tell yourself that you can do things or that you can't do things, then your limits become so fluid and so stretched that you can do essentially whatever you set your mind to. For instance, there are times where I can't do an exercise. And as soon as I say that to Chris, he immediately berates me for using the word can't, and I force myself to try the exercise anyways. And sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't. But if I didn't try it, if I stopped myself and ended the exercise right there, I never would have realized my limit.
It's very important that you understand your limit, because once you know your limit, you can push your limit, right? And the more you push your limits, the more you grow, the stronger you become, and the less of a bitch you are. So, the way I have it is, when I was with Adam and we were working out a lot together, I would be the one to catch him saying can't, right? But when I'm on my own, I don't have somebody hovering around me always catching me when I say can't. Except I do. Internally in my mind, I have a little mental terrorist, okay? And every time I say the word can't, that little motherfucker in my head is like, hey, what was that? Sorry, what was that word you just said? I'm sorry, I don't think that's in the English vocabulary. And I'm like, fuck you. And then I just have to do whatever the hell I said I couldn't do,
Did you say mental terrorist?
I did indeed say mental terrorist.
I don't know if that's adorable or terrifying.
I mean, he's a little bastard, but he's kind of cute, I guess. All right. Anyway, so this whole thing with can't, it also applies to two other things. One is making excuses, which I'll delve into in a moment, but the other one is pushing things for later. A very simple example I can give you is the other day I got a bill in the mail that I could pay online. And I opened the bill and I said, I'll do this later. And I was going to toss the letter to the side and do it later. And the moment I said that, my mental terrorist popped up. He's like, yo, do it now. There's no reason not to do it now. You have the time. There's nothing stopping you. Do it, right? You're procrastinating it for no reason. And I was like, you know what? You're right. And so I picked up the bill and I pulled out my phone, and it took me like 2 minutes, and I paid it, and then it was done and out of the way. And what that prevents you from doing is, one, it gets you into the habit of not procrastinating, and two, it prevents you from putting it to the side and then maybe forgetting about it, right? And then you miss the bill due date, and then you get slammed with another fine or whatever else, right? So
Yeah, and your
it's
credit
important that you
report goes
push it, right?
down.
Yeah, exactly. So it's important that when you encounter an obstacle, you face it immediately.
Well, I think we've covered don't be a bitch. Don't be a bitch.
Yeah, but the most important thing, aside from not saying can't and not pushing things to later, is obviously don't make excuses, right? What bitches do is they make excuses. Okay, that is what a bitch does.
Yeah, this is actually a pretty, probably the most serious part of this topic is don't make excuses, because it it's actually frustrating how often people make excuses for themselves and don't even know that they're making excuses for something. Like, to them, it's the reason they're not doing it, but they don't even realize that that reason is just an excuse.
Exactly, and it's important to understand that bitches make excuses, okay, and boosas do shit. All right. So, people, there used to be a saying. I mean, it's not really used to be. People still use it. They're like, man the fuck up. All right. Well, here at the Busa Riding God King podcast, we are humanists. All right. And so we believe everybody should be equal and have equal opportunity. All right. And in that case, we have our own term, Busa the fuck up. All right. So when shit gets tough, get tougher than the shit, all right, and move forward instead of making some stupid excuse. Okay, let's say your boss keeps you at work an extra 3 hours. Okay, let's say your boss keeps you at work an extra 3 hours, and then you get home and it's like 8 p.m. and you're like, you know what, I've had a long day. I'm not gonna work out. I did an extra 3 hours of work. I'm tired, I'm mentally fatigued, I should just take a rest day because, I worked an extra 3 hours and I'm exhausted and blah. You're just making excuses, all right? It's 8 p.m. Are you going to go to bed immediately? No. So just fucking do your workout. Don't be a fucking pussy, all right? And then go to sleep. Now, the other thing is, when people make excuses, you can easily tell when they make an excuse because whatever action they're trying to avoid, they will fill with some other activity that takes up the time. So people are like, oh, I don't have time. I don't have time. Really? Do you not watch any Netflix whatsoever? Do you not hang out with any friends? Do you not scroll through Instagram for 5 hours a day? Like, the problem is that people don't realize how much time they waste in their day. Even if you only do it, let's say you only scroll through Instagram like 5 minutes at a time, but you do that 10 times a day. That's 50 minutes, right? So those little things add up. And if you combine all the random distractions in life, there's so many distractions in life: drugs, vices, sex, friends, video games, TV, radio, music. There's a humongous host of things that can distract you from sticking to your path and doing productive things, right? Not to say that any of them are inherently negative. You can still do them and include them in your life. It's just when you're doing them so frequently that you're spending hours and hours and hours a day doing them, you're wasting time and you're making
And
excuses.
more often than not, it's not the time that takes away your ability to do things that you want to do. It's the drag of thinking that you won't be able to do it. Like, if you're thinking, if I'm doing exercise, I won't be able to do the drugs I'm addicted to, or I won't be able to watch the show. And it's not necessarily the time that you're spending doing the things as excuses. It's just the fact that they are there as excuses for you.
Precisely.
Oh,
They're like
actually, I
scapegoats.
feel like what I just said made no sense.
No, no, no,
My
no, no,
brain's
no.
still waking up.
Sorry. I know you're a little tired, but I actually made sense of what you were saying. Um,
Yeah,
they're
you
kind
want
of
me to read that for
scapegoats.
me?
Yeah, I got you. No problem, fam. They're scapegoats. So someone's like, "Hey, let's hit the gym," and then you will find any excuse, any little tiny thing. Oh no, like this the new episode of whatever the fuck just came out. I gotta go watch it. Or oh no, I'm hanging out with a friend. Blah blah whatever. Right? Even if you might not actually be hanging out with a friend right then and there, like maybe you have plans with a friend in an hour and a half. You can hit the gym. You can hit the gym for 40 minutes with your friend, go home, shower, and then hang out with your friend. But a lot of people, they have their, like, they want their me time. So they want to like go home, chill out, sit on the couch and browse through Facebook for like 40 minutes, and then maybe get ready and then go out with their friend, right? And so to them it's like the gym is not something that they want to do, and they will scapegoat any other activity instead of the gym. And they will, but it's not just for the gym specifically, it's for any productive activity that may or may not be boring at times. For example, I like working out. Does that mean I always like working out? No, I didn't want to do leg day today before the podcast, but I did leg day before the podcast, right? It's a maintenance thing. I know that I'm going to regret not doing this. And if I continue to do it and become accustomed to doing it, it's not so bad, right? Even on the days I don't want to do it, it's not so bad to just, grit my teeth and Busa right through it. Um, I want to jump off of this no excuses part and kind of branch off into viewing yourself objectively, because a lot of people listening to this podcast might be like, well, Chris, and well, Adam, I'm not a bitch, okay? Right? I work 9 to 5. I work hard as fuck. All right. Maybe you work 9 to fucking 7. I don't care. You work 9 to 7. I'm not a bitch. I get home and I work out. And then after my workout, I read and then I go to sleep. And on the weekends I chill out because Saturday and Sunday, I just like to rest and recover from the week. But like during the week, I'm not a bitch. Well, here's the thing. You're not really viewing yourself objectively or holding yourself to a very strong standard. You might be thinking that you're not a bitch because, you have a hardworking job. Maybe you work 2 jobs. But here's the thing. Here at the Busa Riding God King podcast, we have an entirely different standard of bitch, all right? And it's important to realize that Adam and I are still bitches, okay? And every single human being I have come across so far
bitch cough.
Is a bitch, all right? Exactly, right? It was a bitch cough because I'm a bitch. Now, you might be thinking, well, Chris, why are you saying you're a bitch if you're following all these Busa steps? It's because, objectively speaking, there are certain things that you could sacrifice in order to go towards your goals faster. I am significantly less of a bitch than I was before I started this podcast, and significantly less of a bitch than even 5 days ago. And I'll explain why. I took an objective look at myself, all right, and I realized I'm getting up at 5:30 in the morning. I'm going to work. On the metro, I just use my social media. On the way back home, right? On the metro, I was writing. I would get home, I would stream, I would work out, I would write for 30 minutes, I'd watch 2 episodes of anime, and then I'd go to sleep. And that was my schedule, right? Now, most people will be like, well, that seems like a pretty busy schedule. You're keeping yourself very productive. You're working 9 hours a day. You're writing. You're streaming. That doesn't seem like something a bitch would do. Well, here's the thing, right? I realized I could cut out those 2 episodes of anime and instead add reading. I realized on the way to work on the metro, why am I taking it easy? Why am I just scrolling through Instagram on the way to work? Why? Because I need chill time to like relax because I'm about to go through a grueling workday. No, that's bullshit, all right? That's being a fucking pussy. So I completely revamped my schedule. And now I wake up at 4:30 in the morning. I do yoga and I box. I eat some food. I have a small little YouTube vlog that I started because I have like 15 minutes to kill after my workout before I have to get on the bus. I have my little vlog. I get on the bus. The moment I step on the bus, I just write. I write all the way to work. I get to work. I sit down. I work from 7 to 4. I walk to the metro station, and then all the way on my way back, I'm writing again. I get home. I stream. I work out. I write. I read, and then I sleep. And then that's my schedule Monday through Friday. And then on Saturdays and Sundays, I'm filling my time with productive things. Like if I'm not seeing another human being on a particular day, like if a friend's not coming over to visit me, then I'm just filling my time with productive things. I'm not sitting around like binge watching anime like I used to. I would take the weekends to recover. Like, oh, I need this time to recover. Do I? Do I really? How do I know that? Have I ever collapsed? Have I ever worked so hard I just collapsed? No. Have I ever like, oh, I didn't have the weekend to recover, so I had a heart attack on Monday? No. All right. So the only way to determine a point at which I am no longer able to, I'm too exhausted, I'm overworking myself, is if I actually overwork myself and figure out where my limit is. And right now I feel great. For the past 3 days I've been doing the schedule, and I feel fantastic. And like today, I did community service for 2 hours. I got home from community service because it was raining. Immediately did leg day, and now I'm on the podcast. Well, actually, I streamed 20 minutes before the podcast, but irrelevant. The point is that I went from one productive thing to another productive thing to another productive thing, and now I'm here, right? And as soon as this finishes, I'm gonna read. I'm probably gonna write some, and then I might take a few hours to chill before I go to sleep. And the thing is that people overestimate how much rest and relax time they need because they never try to push themselves to their absolute limit. And what happens, especially in this group of the Busa riding God Kings that I've noticed, is we all slowed down. We At the beginning we had a huge surge. Adam especially, he had a huge surge when he went to college. He was being super Busa, especially when he was with me. We were working out super consistently, all this kind of stuff, like every day weighing ourselves, being super good with the calories. He went off to college. He had this huge surge, but then, and this happened to me, I'm going to speak from my experience, as you notice that compared to the people around you, you're doing way more, right? You kind of settle. You're kind of like, okay, I'm doing enough, right? Because people were telling me, oh, don't do community service on Saturday and Sunday, like only do it on Saturday. Take Sunday off, take Sunday as a relaxed day. And I slowly started like, you know what? Maybe I should do that. Maybe I should do that. I started listening to them, and I was like, you know what? Fuck that. I don't need to do that, right? Like that's the mentality of a bitch. I don't want to be a bitch, right? I can push through this. I'm almost done with my community service. I have like 45 hours left. All I got to do is keep pushing through, and I'll be done, and then I'll be way happier about my weekends when I'm done with that. So the realization is that you can always sacrifice more. There's always more to sacrifice, and you have to objectively view yourself and view what you're spending your time on a day-to-day basis. And anybody listening can try this out. Every time you do something, like you change activities, right? Aside from biological functions, of course, write down what you're doing. So let's say you're hanging out with a friend, Jim. You hang out with Jim for 3 hours, and then you end up going to the gym. All right. I know that's a terrible use of words, but whatever. You end up going to the gym. So write in your notes, hung out with Jim 3 hours, went to the gym 1 hour. And then you go and you knit for 2 hours. All right. Then knitting 2 hours. And actually write down the stuff you do. But make sure to include like browse Instagram 20 minutes on the couch for no reason, right? Like include all the little basic things. And you're going to realize that in your day, there's a lot of time that if you stayed focused, you could get a lot more done, right? So I think that's something that people need to realize, objectively speaking. People don't want to look at themselves. People don't want to think of themselves as lazy. And so a lot of people hold themselves to a societal standard. If you work and you maintain a job, you're good to go. That is your only obligation. All right. Yeah, sure. Whatever. If you want to be some fucking person out there who ends up accomplishing not very much. And I'm not ragging on people who have just 9 to 5 jobs and do nothing outside. If you love your 9 to 5 job and your 9 to 5 job is your passion and you kick ass at your 9 to 5 job and you become CEO after 5-10 years of working, whatever, awesome. I'm not saying you're a bitch. I'm not trying to implicate that in any way, shape, or form. But for those people who have a 9 to 5 job that they do not like and they do not want to be a part of, and they have their own passions and dreams to pursue, they come home and they don't pursue those passions outside of their job because they're like, oh no, I worked too hard today. And they make all these excuses. You need to objectively realize if you want shit in life, You have to go get it. And you have to realize your life is literally on the line. Your future, the course, the path your life is going to take is completely determined by the actions of today and the actions of tomorrow and the actions of the day after that. Every single moment is a battle. All right. And it's a battle between making the right choice or making the easy choice, right? You make the right choice and you start moving towards your goals. You make the easy choice and you sit comfortable for years and years and years, right? And this happened to me personally. 3 years of my life I basically wasted because I started at point A and I ended up at point A but depressed, right? That was basically how those 3 years went. And then I was like, fuck this. I don't want to be at point A anymore. And I started moving towards point B. All right. Am I at point B yet? No. Am I a lot closer to point B than I've ever been in my entire life? Yes. So it's very important that when you start moving towards your goals, you don't be a bitch. You don't make excuses. You remove the word can't from your vocabulary and you don't procrastinate things. You don't go, oh, I'll do this later. Do it now. It's an obstacle. Get it out of the way. Okay. So that way you can do the things you want to do.
Wow. I'll clap, but I have to hold that bush to talk.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I mean, there's nothing else to say.
Okay, perfect. Let's move on to 12.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
step. Okay, you want to do it?
Yeah.
Go nuts.
Step 12 of the Busa Writing God Kings is do not look back. Just as Chris has been talking about the future, it's important that we only look forward to the future. We cannot look back and regret the things we've done or think terribly about the choices we made, but instead we just have to keep looking forward. The only place to look is the place we're going to go, not the places we've been.
And I think an important part of that, right, is that, okay, I want to play devil's advocate for a sec and make you guys understand that we're not trying to say that you shouldn't introspect or reflect on your actions, okay? Because that is important, right? If you talk to somebody and suddenly it devolves into some crazy argument, and maybe you're not yelling, maybe they're just yelling at you, they're super mad at you. After it, when you're away from the situation, reflect on it and kind of think, what did I do wrong? Or what did I do right? Or what could I have done better, right? Those kind of things help you grow. So we're not saying do not reflect, okay? What we are saying is don't look back at your past and spend your entire fucking life contemplating all the different choices you could have made or like regretting certain actions you made or wondering, oh, but what if I had asked out that girl in middle school? I wonder where she is now. And like daydreaming about all these fantasy things that you're not going to do anything about, right? I mean, if you really want to look at the past, you should look at the past to learn something from it. Once you've learned what you have to learn from it, don't look back, all right? Backwards is not the way you want to go. Keep your eyes forward.
I mean, moving on to that, we can just combine step 12 and step 13.
Yeah, sounds good to me. Go ahead.
Just as you can only look forward, you should only move forward as well. If you are ever feeling down, I mean, it's funny because these are things you talked about and don't be a bitch, but if you're ever feeling down, if you're ever feeling bad, the best thing you can do is just take a step forward. If something terrible happened to you, or if you lost someone recently, or if you feel like you can't accomplish something that you've been trying to accomplish for years, the best thing you can do is just stop and take a step forward. Oh wait, that's a little contradictory, but it makes sense.
Yeah. It's not a physical stop. It's like a mental stop, and then you step forward. It's important that you understand the reason why moving forward or moving upward, depending on whatever your scale is, right? Let's say like upward in the hierarchy of a company, but when we say forward, we mean towards your goals, let's say, or progressing towards something that you desire. Okay. The reason that it's important that you prioritize the action of doing that is because no matter how you feel in a certain situation, the thing that will speak the loudest, not only to other people, but to yourself and the way you feel, is action. Let's say you think about working out and you almost do it every day for a year. How are you going to feel at the end of that year? Are you going to feel satisfied? Fuck no. Are you going to feel like, oh yeah, I'm getting better. I'm almost getting myself to the gym, right? No. You're going to be in the same fucking depressed spot you were at the beginning of the year, except now you have another year wasted under your belt. Now you look back and you're like, fuck, right? Like I just wasted another 365 days, right? But let's say you manage to, at the very least, you manage to go for a walk, a 2 mile walk, right? You manage to convince yourself to go for a 2 mile walk every day. How are you going to feel at the end of the year when you've walked 2 miles every day? You're going to feel a little better. You're going to feel like, wow, it's been a year. I've actually walked 2 miles daily for a year. Holy shit, I've walked like 700 something miles. What the fuck? Right? And you're going to be a little elated, right? You still might be somewhat depressed because I'm going to be honest with you, walking 2 miles a day is not enough exercise, particularly for the average human, to make enough of a difference that they're going to be elated, right? It's not like you're suddenly going to have a six pack and be ripped, right, from walking 2 miles a day. I mean, you can change your diet. You actually could, but that's besides the point. It's just a step, because once you start feeling a little bit happier or a little bit more satisfied or a little bit better, you start realizing that you can make this change to other things in your life too. Now you can maybe read 5 minutes a day. And then after a year, you've read 5 minutes a day every day for a year. And all these things just start to compound. You start feeling better and better and better. And not only do your actions speak to you, they speak to other people, right? If you constantly tell people, oh yeah, like I'm going to hit the gym, I'm going to lose weight, and then you don't do it, nothing happens. People are going to have a whatever opinion of you. But if you tell people, hey, I'm going to lose weight, and then they see you hitting the gym constantly, people get attracted to that. All right. I've noticed that recently, ever since I started being very positive and super wholesome, people start being attracted to me. I met two people recently when I was doing community service, and they created a group chat because they said, we don't want to lose you. Like, you're motivating us. Like, just by talking to us this one time, like, we're super motivated. And so they put me in a group chat, and one of the guys recently quit vaping. I told him to quit vaping. I sent them some articles about people dying from vaping and stuff. And, I told them, I didn't want to be like, I wasn't trying to be like condescending or anything. I just sent them the article, and I was like, hey, I saw this. I just thought you might want to know or whatever. And then he ended up quitting vaping, and he said, like, thank you. I was thinking of doing it, but I didn't have a bastion. I didn't have somebody championing that side of things for me, right? And so that's kind of what happens is when you decide to start taking the hard route, right? Instead of the easy route, you take the hard route, and you put in the work. You're waking up at 5 a.m. every morning and going to the gym. People around you are now able to take that route with you. They kind of cling on and go along for the ride. I can give you an example. If you're at a party and you're the only one not drinking, people get annoyed with you, right? And I believe Adam can say some words on this in a second. People get annoyed with you. Now, somebody else who was thinking about not drinking will then see you not drinking and then also choose to not drink. And they'll hang out with you and they'll talk to you, and you guys can chill and whatever, and not be bothered by all these people that are trying to get you to drink. So the thing is that it's important to constantly move forward, because even if you still feel the same way, let's say you do all this stuff and somehow you still feel the same internally, where you will be is completely different. You'll still end up closer to your goals, right? So even if you're working on your mental health and in the entire year you somehow end up nowhere closer to being like very happy and healthy mentally, you're still going to be closer to your goals because you did the action, right? So I think most people can agree that if you attain your goals, you're going to get some level of happiness. So even if you're fucking depressed as shit, all right, if you attain a goal, you're going to get some level of satisfaction. So as long as you keep moving forward, even if it's slower than if you were happy and healthy, you're going to reach your goal at some point. And when you reach your goal, you're going to get some level of satisfaction from it, and that's a positive. So that's why moving forward is very, very crucial. A lot of people are out there lost as fuck. Anybody listening to the podcast, you might be lost as fuck. You might be like, I don't know what I want to do in my life. I don't know where I want to go. All right, this is what I recommend to you. Make a list of hobbies that you're interested in, okay? And then play a little game where you imagine you're going to go to an island, all right? And you can only bring 3 of those hobbies with you, okay? Take that list you just made, take 3 of the hobbies that you absolutely like, cut the other ones away slowly. I don't care how long it takes you. Take a week, take 2 weeks, take 3 weeks. Figure out what 3 hobbies are the most important to you that you really like to do. They really bring you happiness and satisfaction, and grab them. Add working out to that mix, all right? And there's your list of 4 things that you're going to focus on, and just start gunning towards them. As we spoke in a previous podcast, set your goals as high as you possibly can for each of the 4. So let's say your hobbies are knitting, boxing, sailing, and then working out, okay? Now, for working out, your goal is to achieve the most physically fit form that my body can accomplish. For boxing, it's becoming world champion. For knitting, it's learning every possible like, I don't know, like little knit pattern in existence, and being able to knit things out of the blue. Like, oh, I want to knit a sweater, right? And you just knit a sweater, like no problem, super easily. I don't know. You can knit quickly. I don't know exactly how to label it, but you want to be able to be one of the most talented knitters. Okay, and then the final one, sailing. All right, I want to win a sailing race or like some shit. I don't know. Adam probably knows better what.
Yeah, they're called regattas.
There, a sailing regatta. All right, that's your goal, right? But you want to win the world class one, whatever the biggest, most insane competition is. You want to win that one. That's your goal, right? Then work towards those goals. Now, here's the key thing. Most people are like, yeah, but what if that isn't actually my life passion? But what if that's not where I want to end up? Like, what if I'm just making a rash decision? What if that's just what I like right now? What if there's something else in life that I could be better at, or that I'm more talented in naturally, or that is my calling in life? Well, guess what? You'll find it along the way. Work as hard as you can towards those 4 things, and I guarantee you, after a few months of working your hardest towards those 4 goals, you're going to quickly realize which of those goals you actually want and which of those goals you don't, right? I can give you an example. For me, if I set the goal of, I had set a goal a long while back of, man, I really want to be a DJ, right? But then I would make every excuse not to sit down and go through the music making process, because it was just such a nightmare to figure out the music production software I was using, and I was just like, ugh, this is so much work and blah blah. And as much as I love music, the actual act of producing music on specific softwares, I realized this isn't my goal. I don't necessarily like. I would love to be a DJ. Don't get me wrong, but it's not. Compared to other hobbies that I have, I would choose the other hobbies over that. And because I would choose the other hobbies over that, I realized, okay, this is not something I should be dedicating myself to, because if I'm already having this much trouble in the beginning, when it's easy, I have unlimited time because I don't have a job and I was in college. Like, if I'm having this much trouble getting myself to do it now, how am I going to get myself to do it when life gets really fucking hard? When I have a 9-to-5 job and like I have to come home exhausted, how am I going to get myself to do this? So realize that it's important that you just start moving. Pick those hobbies you're going to take to the island, add working out, and then gun towards those with all your might. And I mean all your might. Fucking delete your Instagram, delete your Facebook, delete your Twitter, all right? Or just fucking uninstall the apps from your phone. Maybe not actually delete the accounts, okay? I'm not saying like vanquish yourself from existence, right? But at least get rid of the apps on your phone, or put them in a folder and only open that folder once a week or once every few days, whatever it may be, right? And then from there, when you're gunning towards those goals, you're going to encounter other things. Maybe on the weekend you're hanging out with a friend and he's like, oh, do you play instruments? You're like, oh no, I've never really tried. And then he's like, oh, like, come on, I have a studio. And then you end up playing some drums in the studio. It's like, oh man, you have some talent or whatever. And like, maybe you really enjoyed. All of a sudden you realize, man, I really like to drum. And then you start trying it out. Maybe you take classes, maybe you keep visiting your friend, and all of a sudden, you're a fucking drummer, right? Life is vast. There's so many different activities in life that you have to realize that to find out what you like in life, you have to experience as much as humanly possible. But you also have to move in a direction. So set your goals and start moving, right? And you can adjust your course as you move. But if you're sitting still, right? Think about it this way. If you're a boat in the ocean and you never move, like you keep your sails furled and you just sit there, right? All you're doing when you're like thinking, oh, but what if this, what if that? You're literally a boat spinning in circles. You're constantly unable to decide which direction to go in. And guess what's going to happen? Guess what's going to happen? You're going to go nowhere. You're going to end up in the same fucking spot, or maybe slightly over because the waves pushed you, right? That's it. If you unfurl the sails and you start sailing towards a fucking island, okay, and you just start going, you're like, fuck it, I'm going this direction, right? Maybe you encounter an island, and maybe on the shore of the island you see a bunch of cannibal savages, and you're like, okay, maybe I don't want to go here. And then you just veer your ship in a different direction and you keep exploring. And eventually you'll come to an island that, I don't know, has a fucking city of gold on it, and you're like, whoa, shit, this is dope. And then you land at that island and you enjoy whatever experience you're going to have there. And then you go from that island to the next and you just move along, right? But if you sit still and you do not choose a path, you do not set goals for yourself, you do not have a direction, you're just a boat sitting in an ocean going in circles, right? You're pointing yourself in a direction, but because you don't unfurl the sails and start moving in that direction, you end up getting nowhere. The only person stopping you from getting the things you want is you. And you might feel like there are other external things that are stopping you. Well, guess what? Those are obstacles, and you can get around them, you can break through them, or figure out some way to get over them with the help of other people. But the only way you're going to get what you want in life is to work for it and to just go for it with no holds barred, making no excuses, and outworking everybody around you and outworking yourself from yesterday, right? And with that, I believe this is a good spot to conclude episode 8 of the Busa Riding God King podcast. Thank you all for listening, and thank you, Adam, for the lovely, lovely half asleep dialogue. It was tear jerking. I'm very proud of you for making it through this one today. I know we started a little earlier than normal.
Where are we? What are we talking about? Where can you point to the script where we are?
Oh, I just went off script, man. You're fucked. We're off.
Oh no!
I've gone rogue, bro. I've gone rogue.
Chris, I asked you to follow the script.
All right. Thanks, guys, for listening.
Goodbye.
Fuck you, Craig.
Yeah, get out of here, Craig.